Hello, and welcome back to Humanity First. Today, I wanted to continue our conversation from last time. Last time, if you remember, we talked about two individuals that have played a really big role in our movement. And we talked about Eliezer Yudkowsky, who was the founder of the field of alignment, and who was really the standard bearer for this movement for 20 years, while no one else was paying attention. He was talking about this issue and thinking about this issue. And then I talked about another individual who was exposed to this problem more recently, but who has really taken the mantle of the advocate for our worldview in the public sphere. And this individual is Bernie Sanders, who has given several excellent speeches in the Senate and to the public on this exact subject, and has really been doing an excellent job of articulating it and connecting it to people's lives. And I wanted to particularly focus on Bernie Sanders today and to talk about the relationship between populism and our movement, the Humanity First movement, the movement to preserve humanity from the growth of capabilities of artificial intelligence and the danger it presents. And ultimately, I think that Bernie Sanders is the first flowering, is the dawn, is the first fruit of the entrance of our worldview into the public sphere. I think that our movement is going through a natural transition that happens with almost every other quote unquote revolutionary movement. Not that our movement is necessarily revolutionary, but you do see this trend with those sorts of movements where there are a collection of ideas that are debated intellectually among academics. And there's a period of transition where those ideas are taking on a political form and are transitioning from the intellectual sphere to the public sphere. And to me, Bernie is a transitional figure in this process for our movement, for our worldview. And in my view, I think this is a natural transition, and it's a transition that should be promoted, encouraged, and accelerated as much as possible. Because if you look at our movement currently, you'll see that a lot of people are talking about this, but they are talking in terms and in a language that really won't land with the public. And I don't say this at all to criticize them, but it is true that a lot of the people that you hear talking about this will talk about, I don't know, like the light cone and expanding humanity across the galaxy, and what's the future of the galaxy going to be. And these, I know why these concepts appear amongst this community. It's because this is the traces of it's the DNA from where this movement originated from. And so carries along this culture that birthed it. I guess the transhumanist culture. That atmosphere. But the truth is that if our message ultimately has to appeal to the public, this kind of language and this kind of culture just won't land with a public audience. Most people, you'll just lose them if you start talking about the light cone and when are we going to become a galactic civilization, and where does artificial intelligence fit in that? It's just not going to work. People are just going to tune you out. But Bernie has demonstrated how this message can be formatted to the public. And ultimately, that is something that we should all learn. How to take our message and form it in such a way that will appeal to the public. And I don't think this is particularly difficult. I think if you lay out exactly what is actually happening, that alone will appeal to the public. People, humans, don't want to be annihilated. They will act strongly if they are convinced by your arguments and your view of the world. If people believed what I believed, they would act. And I have faith that this message, if articulated correctly, will land, even now. And we've seen it demonstrated with Bernie, with how the public is already reacting in some ways to artificial intelligence. You see a discussion where people are talking about the future of AI and is it going to take everyone's job? And you see the comment section, clearly it's on our side. Clearly, there's already this anxiety about this thing because people feel like there's this something is alien and is non-human and it's coming in and in some way replacing them. Of course, we think the situation is a lot worse. It's not just your job. Actually, having jobs replaced is relatively trivial compared to the danger that this technology presents to humanity, to like their lives and well-being. But with that being said, you already see that naturally the public is on our side. Naturally, our message will land. You can feel it. Like if you say what is absolutely true, which is that certain individuals are developing this technology and making hundreds of billions of dollars developing this technology, which they know has a high probability of ending humanity in the near future, has a 20% chance, 30% chance of ending humanity in the near future. And they know this, and they've said this time and again publicly, and now they're racing as quickly as possible to develop this technology and making billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars along the way. All of this is absolutely true, and it's absolutely insane. And you feel it that it will land with the public if you just tell them that, which is true, that it will land. And it almost feels like black magic in a way, because you feel that the power, the political power behind phrases like that, because it rouses the sense of injustice in people. And you kind of sense the dangerous side of that as well, because it's exactly this type of rhetoric that has led to so many atrocities in the past. And that's something that I think ultimately we'll have to be careful of in our movement. I know it's hard to believe now because it feels like that we're getting no traction at all, but I'm certain that this movement will get traction as this technology continues to improve. Humans will not be passive. They will not be passively replaced. As this technology continues to improve, there will undoubtedly be signs and warning signs that people will see. And I believe that people will wake up, and the political climate, the climate of the people, is going to shift completely. And at that point, I do think that this message will need to be moderated and couched, because it can actually lead to violence. But for now, I think we're just trying to get any traction. And so we should state this fact to the public. And we should, as fast as possible, filter out the old ways of talking about the subject that will alienate people. Or rather, if people want to talk about it this way, that's perfectly fine. But I think that those that are trying to attract or send this message to the public, that are trying to reach the public, should be careful with the wording that they use, because they want to attract the greatest number of people, and you just need to know your audience. You need to know how to talk to different people. So, I think that's all I want to say at this front on this topic for now. We'll talk more about this in the future, but I do think that the people that are developing this technology, they underestimate humanity in a way. They, I think, believe that humanity is like a passive, that they won't understand what's happening, that they can kind of like figure things out on their own about how to develop this technology and just do it, and that they don't need to really account for how the public feels. I don't think that's true. Just reading history, I don't think that's true. Humans are really not passive. They are many things. They're very complicated. But I think humans are prone to contention, are prone in some ways to violence even. And I think I really do not believe that humanity will allow itself to to be replaced, to go extinct. I don't think that will be a gentle process. I don't think that most people are just going to lie down and allow this to happen. And in a way, this is really what we're counting on, is that people, because the forces that are pushing towards the development of this technology are extremely strong. Already today, I saw something that in Ukraine, of course, Ukraine and Russia, the war there, Ukraine's having manpower problems. And already they're talking about how can we implement robotics so that we can make up for our manpower issues. So it's the forces that are pushing towards the development of this technology are very powerful. And to stop the development of this technology, you need something equally powerful. And that relies on humans not being passive, on them being very active, in fact, and aware. And in a sense, up for sacrifice. And in a sense, up for a fight, a political fight, not like actual, not violence, but a political fight. But that's ultimately what our hope is, and that is also my personal belief. I just looking at history, people have sacrificed so much for so much less. They have sacrificed so much more for so much less. There is a war, and all of a sudden there's a rally around the flag effect. And millions are signing up, throwing away their life to fight for their country. This is humanity's tremendous power of sacrifice. And I can't imagine that humanity's story would end without at least a political fight, without at least people stepping forward to just speak on the subject, to raise awareness about it. It would be very sad if humanity's story ends and no one even bothers resisting to any capacity. That would be very depressing. But I don't think that that's the world that we live in. I have faith fundamentally in humanity, that we will rise to the challenge and that people will recognize this, and that if I and others like me land on the right words, that it will reach, that it will meet a response. So yeah, because if I thought that this was on me or on the collection of people that are speaking about this issue now, then we would 100% be doomed. 100%. I mean, but but what gives me hope is that I know that it's really not on me. That it's in all humanity's interests to rise up and resist this, to realize this issue and resist it. And all my job is just to say the words and to believe that if I say them with conviction, and if I do my due diligence in forming the words correctly and speaking them, that eventually someone will notice. And maybe that person will be even better at speaking, and they will go and speak and convince others as well. But I know in my heart that there is an audience for this message, because I'm a human and I feel it, and I know other humans across from me will also feel it if they believe what I believe, which I think is is what is the inevitable conclusion you come to once you're presented with the evidence in many ways. So that's it for today. I did have one more thing that I wanted to discuss. So I've been doing this show more or less daily for the last however many days, 2 weeks or roughly. And I think it has been great to do it daily. I am practicing. I'm trying to improve in different ways, and that daily practice is really helpful. I wanted to try to implement a bi week or a wait bi-weekly. Is bi-weekly twice a week, or is bi-weekly every other week? I wanted to try to do the show twice a week, every week. I was thinking that I would probably do it on Thursday night and Saturday night, just because those days tend to work a little better for me. Um, but so I just want to put that out there. I'll try a little bit with this kind of schedule and see if it works. See, and if not, we can go back to doing the show daily. So I apologize. These episodes will be less frequent, but I hope they will be higher quality, and perhaps they will be slightly longer than they are now. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. And yeah, don't forget that winter's coming. All right, take care. Bye.